welcome back to Skeletons Out the Closet podcast, where we share transparent stories of faith, life, and everything in between. We're your hosts, Christina and Chase Grandstaff. I'm Christina.
And I'm Chase.
And we are so happy to be back with you guys today.
Yepers.
We are discussing redefining couple roles.
Yes. Let's talk about it.
Our redefining series where, a few days ago, we talked about redefining.
We're reformers.
What were we redefining on Tuesday?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's been a long day.
Wow. Okay. We both don't know what we were redefining last week.
We talking about something.
We were talking about dating.
Yep.
So if you guys haven't seen that podcast, you should go and look at it.
How to date without babysitters.
Yeah.
We just threw out some good tips and strategies for our family.
And what we do. And that's what we're doing today.
Yes.
We are not telling you that you have to redefine roles in your family. We are saying
how it's worked for us.
When you redefine them and you don't have such strict boundaries around this role is for this person and this role is for this person, it really, really helps us.
Some adjustments. Get in there, a little paper.
So this is a fun thing.
Call Christina's iPhone.
That's Mercy. She's calling.
Mercy's calling right now?
Yeah.
What? She probably needs something from her little cheerleading. Oh, she's not getting picked up today at 3:30.
No.
Our kids are calling. She's probably about to call my phone in a minute. Watch. This is how we do it, though, because this is Skeletons Out the Closet. We don't care. We'll be talking about our kids, people knocking on our door.
Yeah.
We in my grandma's basement. No, I'm just kidding. We live in our own house.
So we're talking about redefining roles.
Yeah, and for some reason, this is always kind of, don't want to throw stones here. We're not going to throw stones, but this is something that's always kind of dug my craw.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like that's Southerner right there, isn't it? Dug my craw.
Yes.
But something that's always something. Look at me, got the mic bouncing again. Something that's always it's got under my skin a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I believe that there's no greater form of leadership than servant leadership. I believe that there's no greater form of the image of Christ than one with a towel around your waist.
Yeah.
And that you serve. And you starts in the home.
Yeah.
And it starts with serving your family.
Yeah.
It starts with serving a wife and serving your children. You set this precedence, this model that you are not king, you are servant.
Yeah.
You are the most sobering terminology I see in the New Testament. We know Apostle Paul was the man, right? I mean, he was the man. He opens most of his letters as, I'm a bondservant.
Yeah.
I'm a bondservant of Christ.
Well, even Jesus.
Yep.
Like, you think about Jesus, who they thought he was. Like, they thought he's going to come and, like, set up a government and take over.
Yeah, and be a king, and you can sit on my left hand and my right hand.
And they thought that at the moment.
And that's why they couldn't
knelt down and washed their feet.
They couldn't handle the fact that he knelt down. Peter was like, no, Lord, you will not wash my feet. And he's like, if I don't wash your feet, you ain't got nothing to do with me. And Peter was like, hold on now, wash my whole body.
He was like, hold on a minute.
Jesus was like, you done went too far, Peter. You better calm down, boy. And so
but that's our example. That's what.
Yeah, absolutely. And so one of the dig my crawl, one of my things that I get a little bit out of shape with is a lot of times I can't help the leadership side of me can't help when I enter homes. I'm not judging, but I'll be assessing, and my assessments have come to the conclusion over the years is I see these concrete roles in culture, especially Southern culture, of men will do this and women will do this. And it's a lot of times there's a lack of servanthood and a lack of flexibility. And I my heart sometimes burdened by if I could come in, if you guys would let me just critique a little bit and move this piece over here and this piece over here, there would be such a better flow. If these roles could be reversed a little bit, there would be less pressure here. There would be more momentum here.
Well, we've had to learn this over the years. We've really had to develop this culture in our family.
Yes.
Because when we first got married, we were trying to be subject. So let's talk about this. We were trying to be
I'm scared.
subject
I'm scared what you want to talk about when we first got married.
in
I'm
these
like, hold
traditional
on,
roles.
white
So
knuckle.
so we like to always, when we talk about our traditional roles and things that we've kind of surrendered over the years, one of the
Yes,
main things is that I cannot cook.
I didn't say this.
I cannot cook.
Y'all heard it
So
first from her.
but so
She,
we tried that I was the
w-
main cook in our
we
family.
took a real holistic approach to, you would start cooking every night at 6, and it would be this home cooked meal, and it was expected of you. And
Yeah, we
I suffered through it for the first while, but
we,
the
we
crap,
went that
the
way.
crap hit the fan one night when we invited a friend over,
Yeah.
and the look on his face when he tasted that food.
So if you're Southern, you will understand what this seasoning is. But I had a seasoning called Dale's seasoning,
Dale seasoning,
which is essentially just
liquid salt.
a bottle of salt
It's liquid
with a little
salt.
bit of Worcestershire looking
So what, sir?
Worcestershire.
Wow, say that 3 times.
This is a fun podcast, I can already tell.
It's
Um,
Dale's is no joke. It's sodium in a bottle,
yes, and I got the full sodium. Like I would never get the half sodium.
and you soaked a tenderloin, soaked it. This thing couldn't have drank any more Dale's in its life.
I poured it all over the whole thing.
It's saturated in Dale's, so it was basically like a salt tenderloin. And my friend bit into it, and the look on his face, he
His eyes got
basically
so
he
big.
basically ate 3 portions of macaroni and cheese and left.
Well, no, we
He had
got up
and
and left
we went
and
to Huddle
went
House?
to Huddle House after 2 bites.
Wow, I thought
We did have macaroni and cheese, and
he
I
ate a
think we
bunch
did
of
eat
it.
that.
Yes,
But we went to Huddle House afterwards.
yeah, we had to bless that boy.
We,
Shout out to
it
Blake.
was so terrible.
And we
But it was kind of one of those like, oh wow, Christina cannot cook.
yeah, and
Moments.
instead of like being
And
critical,
my mama can cook.
man, crazy. Your mom and dad, they be throwing down.
I just don't even like know why I didn't get that gene, but
Didn't hit. I'm actually glad, because I'd be struggling with my weight if you could really cook. Like, but anywho, that, and I did struggle with the Huddle House there for the first
yeah,
year, because it kind of it pushed me to the other side of the pond, and
yeah.
we were at Huddle House a little too much. That brown gravy, come on, somebody. But listen, we didn't get stuck. I think
we couldn't
so many times you
because
get.
you
I
would
mean, we
eat
could have.
sick.
I could have been extremely critical. I could have dropped the hammer and just been like, "No, you're going to figure this out. You're going to do this. This is what women do in the South. This is how this home is going to run." But we didn't get stuck, and I think so many times, listen to me, guys. So many times we get stuck in these cultural roles. I've seen this overseas. I've seen it in the South. And it's in every culture. There's different cultural roles. It's even in the culture we live in now in Utah. There is some strong culture here of role identity.
Yeah.
And it really, it can wear. I've seen it wear on different sides. I can tell you stories of how some dads here feel, who are stay-at-home dads, and they just, that role breaks them down. It tears their mental health down. And I'm like, why can't you accept that this could be a role in this season of your life? And it's like, because in my culture, this is like an act of shame that my wife is the breadwinner. And but there's these different roles. You get stuck. So let's talk about it. How do you get unstuck when you come to the realization of that we need some role change? We need flexibility in our home.
Yeah.
What we did is we just got to the conclusion in that season of life is like, hey, I actually prefer cooking.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy cooking.
Yeah.
You like my food. I like my food.
Yeah.
We keep it simple, but
Yeah.
we grill a lot.
Well, it was one too many bowls of cereal
Yes.
when I had cooked a full meal.
Yep.
That sent us over the edge to say,
let's change roles here.
Let's change roles.
Let me do the cooking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've bounced. Let's talk about some of the roles that we bounced back and forth with over the years, because you don't have to even get stuck in where you're at now. There's been many times, right, that that I'm a cleaner. I ain't got no problem cleaning, but I don't like to necessarily clean the bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'll clean the whole house, and you had to double check the bathroom. You're like, man, you just don't want to do that bathroom, do you? You don't gripe at me and complain at me. I'm like, why won't you clean the bathroom? You
I just say,
appreciate
hey,
the fact.
I'll clean the bathroom. Don't worry about it.
Right.
and we trade off.
And there's been a season of our life where you are very heavily focused on building a business, and I said to you, I said, hey, I have more flexibility in my time than you do right now.
Yeah.
We're in this particular kind of season. Why don't I primarily carry the load of doing dishes and laundry
Yeah.
into why you get this business up off the ground?
And it was so helpful too because you had the flexibility to go drop the girls off at school,
Yep.
pick the girls up, like really more of that role, and you could work around.
Yeah, I had more time flexibility than
Yeah.
you did.
And I just think it's beautiful to have a marriage where you can have these flexibilities and roles.
Absolutely.
And I think that we live in a culture where that actually is culturally acceptable. For the most part, there are some places
There's
where
some
it's not.
exceptions.
There are some places where it's not as culturally acceptable, or you might feel less than.
Yep.
So there are some instances where I would feel less than to admit that my husband does most of the cooking. You know,
Absolutely.
like there are places where that might
Yeah,
not.
if we transported you right now to Southern culture in Georgia,
Yeah,
you might not be like
super.
self volunteering yourself at the women's meeting and being like, my
I think
husband cooks every night because I can't cook.
yeah.
You're not going
Uh,
to volunteer that information
yeah. And
because of what cultural pressure, right?
I think it's important too, like that sometimes even like admitting, oh, well, I'm the one who goes and takes the kids to school and picks the kids up
Yeah,
and cooks and cleans.
that was
That's
hard
like
on me for a
that's
little
hard
while.
on a man to
Yeah.
say that. And
I struggled with self-worth in the beginning of this particular season we're talking about, when I took more of a role that in my Southern culture was more the role of a woman.
yeah,
It was a more of a stay at home. I started working from home more, and I had more flexibility in my time. And next thing I know, I was picking kids up. I was taking them to school. I was doing some dishes. I was doing some laundry. I was cooking dinner, and you were full on business building mode, chasing after what God had told you to do, pursuing that. You still had these motherly roles, you still had this nurturing role, you still were very much a wife role, but I took the burden off of you so you could be creative.
yeah,
You were a creative, you are a creative,
yeah,
and you needed full creative mental capacity to start building this business from the
yeah,
ground up.
yeah,
And I realized she needs that capacity, and if she gives that to these other areas, it's going to kill her creativity.
yeah.
It's going to stall it out, and I know that she
And
needs
we
that.
know people do that for like their spouses going to college full time, and
Yeah.
they'll take the parent, the primary like stay at home caretaker role.
Yep.
And I just think it's so beautiful if we could, as a society, get to a point where we don't define those roles so much to make people feel uncomfortable.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
to make people feel like you can't be the one who cleans the dishes, or you can't be the one who um does the finances, or you can't be the primary breadwinner, or those kinds of things. Like
Even the role and the challenges, maybe somebody's listening out there, that you have the struggle of, it's time for your spouse to go back to work, because they want to.
mhm,
And there's this pressure of it to be a stay-at-home mom. And
yeah,
no, you can't go back to work because that's a negative sign on my family that I can't fully provide for you. And so and so and so and so and so and so they get to stay home and be the homemaker and be there for their kids. You know how many women that I've realized over the years in counseling and ministering and pastoring really have a strong desire and a burden on their life to want to pursue a career. They
yeah,
want to do something beyond their life of raising children.
yeah,
And that is a great responsibility. And there's many ladies out there who this is my calling. I am called to raise these children. I am called to be the homemaker. I love it. I embrace it. But
yeah,
I found it to be that there's a lot, just as many more out there who are driven by wanting to build a career. They
yeah,
want to be in the marketplace. They
yeah,
want to be amongst people during the day. They want to be able to drop their kids off at a school or daycare and pick them back up,
yeah,
re-engage with them, go home,
yeah,
and step into defined roles of some, hey, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, my husband cooks because that's my creativity days at work, and I'm spent when I get
mhm,
home. Right. And it's a
yeah.
beautiful thing when we see that.
It's serving each other's needs. We
Yes.
talked about this earlier, how we will consciously step into each other's roles when needed.
Absolutely.
So, like, we may say, well, you're the primary person who cooks.
Yep.
But if you have a meeting at 6 p.m.,
I'm like,
which
hey, you're
is,
gonna need to handle this.
frequently you have a
Yes.
Zoom meeting or whatever at 6 p.m. And
I don't even have to ask you. You know, I got this.
yeah,
I'm
it's,
gonna, I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna throw them nuggets in the air fryer.
yeah, it's just like, hey, I mean, whatever, whatever
Let's not get
works.
crazy.
Yeah, whatever works. I thought that I could cook a good cheese quesadilla.
Yes.
And Micah informed me, our 4-year-old informed me the other day that, Mom,
It
you
ain't
can't
hitting.
cook
It
a
ain't.
cheese
It ain't
quesadilla.
hitting.
I'm like, wow.
No.
Like, that took all of the rest of my cooking dignity away. Like,
Absolutely. There's moments too where it's my primary role and responsibility. This is something we've communicated,
mhm,
and you do have to stand behind your commitments. Like if the if it's if it's settled that that's my role,
yeah,
and then you're committed to it. Like, so example, like I primarily hustle and bustle this laundry around here, and y'all know what I'm talking about
yeah,
when you got 2 kids and a wife who wears 6 outfits a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, the laundry can be stacking up, and there's times where I'm like, hey, I'm really busy this week. Will you move the laundry along for me?
yeah. And
I'm
I
not
actually enjoyed that.
I'm not telling you to like take my role
Yeah,
or take my. I'm asking you to move it along.
yeah,
Like, and we know what that means in our house. It means like get one load to the next, bring a basket upstairs kind
mhm.
of thing. And we help each other out. I think it's a really an attitude of our heart.
Because
So
it used to not be like that. We
yeah,
used to would get mad at
we
each
would get
other.
stuck. We would get stuck in roles. We would
Yeah,
get stuck in roles.
yeah,
I'm not doing that. That's your responsibility.
yeah,
We'd start barking at each other and start bickering about certain things.
yeah.
Hey, I don't do that. And I remember feeling sometimes when I would have to step into some of your roles, like I was being taken advantage of.
It's like your manhood was being
Yes, because I was like, she knows,
questioned.
she knows I'm a worker bee. She knows I'm driven. She knows I'll jump in and do it. And then you would ask again, and then again, and I was like, hold on, what? Why? And it was just not the ability to be self-aware and read the room of your family is so important. Can I talk to the men out there listening, or some of the guys? You are responsible for the welfare of your family and the mental health of your wife. I've heard it said before. There are certain areas. I've heard husbands say this right to my face, nose to nose, eye to eye, who said, "I'm not responsible for my wife's mental health." I would beg to differ. I would say that as the leader of your home, you're responsible for gauging her emotional well-being. You're responsible for engaging her mental health. You should be able to look at your wife and be able to say, you know what? I know the roles that you have this week, and I'm stepping in and I'm taking those roles because you need a break.
Yeah,
You need a break from the children. You need a break from society. You need a break from culture. You need a break from everything. You need to be able to go in your room, read a book, stare at the wall, not do anything. I need to be able to pull that stuff off of your table. And a wife can gauge too for her husband to do that.
yeah,
But the responsibility needs to fall on the home, on the shoulders of men. Men need to men. They need to rise up and lead their homes and help navigate to not get stuck in roles,
yeah,
serve, be
yeah,
willing to put in the work and the grind. And I know some of guys are, listen, you don't understand. I work 10, 12-hour days. And if I get home, the laundry's not done and the food's not cooked. But did you die? You know, are your
Well,
kids alive? Are your kids alive?
well,
Is your marriage healthy?
yeah, I've
Uh,
seen some really healthy marriages where that's true, that's the case,
yep.
where they both work really hard, and the truth is they give each other grace.
Absolutely.
Like,
I
you
know
just, like, don't
we
have.
know we know plenty of women. We know plenty of women who wear as a badge of honor that my husband gets out there and puts in 10 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah,
And that man ain't coming home to do laundry and cook.
yeah,
And she takes it as a badge of honor.
yeah,
She recognizes this is my role. I'm going to
yeah,
make sure this home is taken care of. And that's fine.
and
That's
that's
beautiful.
her role, not a gender
A
role.
gender, like it's not like even sometimes some of those women are like that actually they work part-time too, but they still wear it as a badge of honor. No, my role, I accept this role, I love it. But as long as the communication's there,
Yeah,
as long as a wife has the ability to say, hey, I need help,
yeah,
I need help, like we're really stuck in our routines, but they're unhealthy
yeah,
long term.
yeah.
This ain't sustainable.
Well,
I can't
we
keep
do that
running this.
right.
I can't keep running at this RPMs for this long.
Yeah, we do that right. We reevaluate constantly.
Constantly reevaluate.
That's I probably should say reevaluating couple roles,
Yeah.
because really what we do is we constantly reevaluate.
Yep.
And there's certain things, we talked about this,
Why
that
do we do that? Because seasons change.
yeah. So
Yep.
like we'll move into a different season where the demand is higher on you or the demand is higher on me.
Yep.
And we just kind of pivot on where's the demand.
Yeah,
Um
absolutely. And your kids, they grow up.
mhm,
Their schedules change.
mhm,
There's times now where I am the drop off and pickup guy, and then there was times for that, and now you with the roles have changed. Now you do drop off and pick up
mhm,
for a kids activities.
yeah.
We have two daughters, so there's we the role reversal for that was we got in a position where you had to sit in on our daughter's ballerina and gym. I don't want to be sitting in a room full of women. I don't want
Yeah.
to be. I'm not trying to sit in there in the break room with a bunch of moms.
Yeah.
And I even told you that I was like, I'll be uncomfortable if I have to go sit there with all the moms. And I don't, first of all, I don't do that anyways. My
Yeah.
leadership style is I don't play around by that. Like I'm not going to go sit and talk to a bunch of ladies.
Yeah.
And so I even told you, I said, hey, I know I did a lot of pickup and drop off for Mercy. It was a healthier situation,
Yeah.
but the Micah situation, we had to change roles. I need you to be the pickup and drop off point person.
Yeah.
We quickly pivoted, right?
Yeah.
We get pivoting is so powerful in healthy marriages,
Yeah.
in healthy homes.
And we don't say this like we have
No,
it.
we've mastered it.
I was
No,
gonna
we
say
have a
though,
master's
but
degree.
honestly,
No, we
it's
at least
from
got our
18
associates.
years of a lot of doing
20
things.
years together, 18 years married.
Yeah, a lot of things we've done a lot of things wrong,
We've learned.
and we've learned.
Yep.
And so we speak from that place and not necessarily like, oh, we have it all together,
No,
but more of we speak from a place of these are the things that we found that actually work.
absolutely.
And having a heart of servanthood toward one another and saying, you've given so much to me, now I want to give that back to you, and
Yep.
vice versa. And it's this constant, how can we serve each other in the best way? And then also talking about if we're not doing the things that we need.
We both have vocalized we're not happy with certain roles.
Yeah.
You went through several seasons where you were like, I'm not happy with being the major financial driver of this family. Like you were over finances. You made a lot of the financial decisions. You
Yeah.
felt all alone in that world.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming at times for you.
Yeah.
And I had to come to the conclusion that I wasn't my personality type, my skill sets. I got bogged down in details and numbers, and I just pushed all that on you. And we had to sit down and have a real heart to heart and say, how do we get better? How can we disperse some of this role?
Yeah. I take the details, you take the
Major decision
decisions.
making.
Yeah.
And so we would come together. We have financial meetings. We strategize about finances. We figure out what needs to come, go, and how things need to work. And I will make upfront decisions so you don't feel alone. I'll say, this is what we need to do. Here's how it needs to be done. And you carry out the game plan.
Yeah, and
And
it's really helpful.
it
And then
flows.
if I'm like, hey, well, I'm seeing it from this angle,
Yep.
I'll share that with you because some of the
Absolutely.
logistics are not your thing.
And we flow so much better. Why is it important, guys, that you understand roles and you're willing to be flexible and you're willing to have grace in these areas? It helps the flow of the home.
Yeah.
Which helps the flow of the marriage, which makes happier children, which
Yeah.
makes a happier spouse. And you start to get an alignment and you start to get in a real rhythm in your home.
Yeah.
And it becomes a beautiful thing. There's less bickering, less fighting, less
Yeah.
arguing. There's less setbacks. You build momentum. And it's what we desire. It's what we desire for your home. It's what we desire for our home, is how do we work together? I can't help but think that there's so many people out there today, even people that'll listen, that say, I know we need some role flexibility and some reevaluation of our roles, but I'm afraid of how to communicate with that.
Yeah.
I'm afraid how to make changes.
Yeah.
I know for us, we use that terminology of you feel taken advantage of when you pass on your role or ask someone else to step into your role and carry that responsibility.
Yeah.
Guys, the real answer is you have grace and you communicate.
Yeah.
You have grace and you have to be willing to communicate. And if you don't know how to communicate, you can go back and listen to some of our other podcasts where we talk about the power of communication and how you breach those lines and how to communicate properly. But if this isn't right and you can't communicate in a healthy manner,
Yeah.
when it comes time to associating role reversal and changing things up, people feel attacked.
Yeah.
They feel like, "What, you don't think I'm doing a good enough job?
Yeah.
Oh, you think you got too much on your plate?"
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite ones?
Mhm.
Mm.
Well, you were always
I got
really
enough going on right now.
Yeah.
I don't need something else on my plate.
That's a good one. Yeah. Um, Honestly though, I think one of the things that changed that you're being taken advantage of feeling,
Mm-hmm.
um, was realizing, going back and looking at the things that your spouse is doing
Yep,
that you don't want to do.
that's great. I had to. That was a many sobering moments for me. Was I do have a capacity to work, get more done in a
Quicker.
24-hour period.
Yeah.
I can drive a task list.
Like
I
I'm
can,
more here
yeah,
and you're more
I
physical.
can push. I can push the envelope as far as, wow, you actually got a lot done today.
Like you can
And
clean our entire
yeah,
house in 2 hours and it takes me like
and you,
8.
yes, and so sometimes that stuff can be a little bit frustrating. And I would venture to say I found myself frustrated at times of like, um, I don't, I think I'm being taken advantage of. I think she's not carrying her weight. I think, and then I had to sit down and be like, oh, she's doing the things that would slow me down.
Mhm.
So the areas I'm accelerating at, I can only accelerate at those areas. She's got my back in and got my blind spot. She's covering over areas and has different roles of the areas that if I was to put in those positions, if you lock me in a room at my desk and threw the financial folder down in front of me, I would be crying 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you do with where does this bill go?
Well, even like
I'm on
something is
hold with the so and so for 2 hours, and it would drive me crazy. And
yeah.
I started to have to literally write down. Sometimes I remember I can go back and look at writing down, what does Christina do that brings value to my life? What does Christina do that helps me fulfill my roles?
Yeah.
What roles is she accomplishing that I'm able to do? Work in the areas of my strengths. I'm able to
Mhm.
accomplish what I'm
Well,
able to
because sometimes
accomplish.
a lot of times that's how it is with couples is you'll have one person who is more they're physically able to write down everything they're doing and it's like a checkbox, right?
Yes, it
And then
looks good on paper.
they're exerting physical energy.
Yes,
And then you have people who are exerting
mental capacity.
mental energy,
Yep.
mental capacity, and it's just as important, but it's not
I ain't gonna
gonna
lie, you have to refresh my memory so many times. It's like, hey, you don't understand. I was on the phone with the IRS for 4 hours because we're figuring out how to pay this particular bill that came in. Yeah, no, it was for real. Like, and that's it's transparent stories. We had to pay taxes this past year.
yeah,
We're self employed.
yeah,
We don't have taxes coming out of our check every single week.
yeah,
We got to pay that bill at the end of the month,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So there was a time where we were like surprised by a tax bill. We were like, what in the world? What's going on here? And so we had to
yeah.
call and figure it out. Like, why are you wanting
And you're
this
like
amount of money
waiting
from
on
us?
a call, and that
Yes.
exerts energy. But also, even like getting the girls dressed in the morning, it's like that doesn't exert as much energy for me.
I'd rather chew on glass.
But you
Mm-hmm.
do not want to do that. Like
Mm-mm.
that is not
Y'all ever
something.
try to put a shoe on a 4-year-old? I swear they do something with their foot in their little mind. They're like, he ain't gonna get that shoe on my foot. He ain't gonna what he think he about and then slit it. Oh my goodness.
But
Drive
that's
me crazy.
so that's like an
Are
hour. That's like an hour worth of work, right?
are
Getting,
are 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 put in that work to
but
get your
it
girl's hair done.
yeah, but if you had to add that to your physical list of things you do, it would
I would rather
you would
walk
have
across
less.
hot coals than to get my girl's hair ready.
Yeah.
Like that's a role that I'm like, you've embraced, like, but what do? I pop up, I get their book bags ready, I get their lunch ready,
Yeah.
and I flow in these task oriented things that don't bog me down, and I get them out the door,
Mhm.
and you come in and you clean up all the little messy things that I don't want to do. I ain't
Yeah.
trying to pick out their outfits.
Yeah.
I'm horrible.
Yeah.
I'm horrible. Y'all know y'all know how it works, right? It's like, they'd be going out the door looking like A hot mess
You've gotten pretty good
express.
at a ponytail if I'm not at home.
Yeah, but there's some complaints being
It's a
thrown out
messy
there.
bun. It's a messy
Yes.
bun every time.
So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about how role reversals, reevaluating the roles of your family, being flexible, having a real grace, but also posture your heart in constant servanthood. You're
Mhm.
never going to stop serving.
Mhm.
If you do, you will get stuck.
Mhm.
You'll get stuck in your ways. You'll get stuck in routines. And guess what? That's when the bickering, that's when the griping, that's when unhappy and unhealthy marriages form, and now you have a mess on your hands because who
Well,
you
my
are,
big
you will reproduce who you are. And guess what that means? Your children will start to become what they see every day, what they hear every day,
Mhm.
and how you're developing them. And
Yeah.
so our children are evaluating, your children are evaluating your lives. They're
Yeah.
seeing how the mom and dad are serving one another,
Yeah.
constantly flexible,
Yeah.
constantly jumping in and helping and serving. And that's who you're going to reproduce.
Yeah.
You're going to reproduce those children are going to catch it, they're going to see it, and man, they're going
Yeah.
to become it. And so
Yeah.
we want to help you have a healthy home, a healthy marriage, raise healthy children.
Yeah. And these
It's
are things that we
desperately
had
needed.
challenges with.
Walk
And
through the fires of life, of
mhm.
learning our way, right?
Yeah.
And so
And
you want to close
still
this out?
and still are. And still
Go right ahead.
I didn't realize you were closing out. I'm
No,
sorry.
I was trying to land the plane, but I'm gonna let you land
I'm
it.
actually gonna let you land the plane.
You
This is
sure?
not my
Guys,
forte
thank you so
here.
much for joining us for Skeletons Out the Closet, where we've just been blessed to be able to share some of our life stories, share some
Yeah.
of our experience. Guys, reevaluating roles is something you constantly have to do. If you've not found yourself having that conversation lately, why don't you have that conversation with your spouse or with someone you live with or you're dating or whatever it may be, of how can I better serve you? What is something that I'm doing that I can do better? Is something that can I take off of your plate? Is there something that I do that you would love to do? Maybe it's something you would
Well,
freely give up.
even for your kids, you can do these things for your kids too.
Absolutely. It works in so many
Mhm.
different
Mhm.
circles. Guys, thank you so much. Let us pray for you. Father, in the name of Jesus, I speak life over those that are listening. I just pray you would help
Mhm.
them. You would help them to be a stronger version of themselves, to really
Yes.
evaluate their own heart, their own processes, their own
Mhm.
routines.
Mhm.
How can you help us to be better? To serve at a greater capacity, to love, and to have more grace every
Mhm.
day, because the world needs someone like that today. They
Yes.
need someone who's going to walk in a greater grace and a greater
Yes.
capacity to serve and to love. And I speak life and blessing over you today in Jesus' name. Guys, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you. If you want to listen to Chasing the Truth, you can hop on tomorrow morning, where I share a 15-minute daily devotion every morning, Monday through Friday, 6:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. But until for our next Skeletons Out the Closet, you can join in next Tuesday. God bless. Thank you so
See you
much.
guys. Bye.